Welcome to the 14th episode of the Broadstreet Sports Podcast featuring Zachary Chabey and Logan Burns.
Alright, what's up? So today we'll talk about a little bit of baseball, how Phillies are going, and the MLB is about to enter the postseason. And then we'll talk about week 3 and what we saw from all these teams and the matchups. Chabey, would you like to start us off?
Sure. All right. So pretty much for the Phillies, they're just about to kick off, or first pitch is about to happen between them and the Pirates, and pretty much just what needs to go down for them. If they win tonight, not only do they clinch a wild card spot, they clinch the number 1 seed in the wild card, which would be huge because then they'd be able to host a 3-game series in Philadelphia next week. What are your thoughts about that, Logan?
I think because we would play. So what we would get whoever's behind us in wild card, if that's right.
Yeah, most likely either the Cubs or the Diamondbacks, or even the Marlins. One of those 3 teams, most likely.
Yeah, so far pretty much, according to all the players, and I've been to a few games, it's just great energy there. It's already pretty much just playoff energy there. So I feel like if we get the wild card spot and we host in the playoffs, then I think we win. I think it's our win, easy win. We win by 2.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree because that home field experience is second to none. Like, especially in baseball, like people say home field advantage really doesn't matter anymore. But once you get that playoff mentality and that experience, you saw it last year. The Phillies beat pretty much a lot of teams they were not going to or not projected to beat or didn't have a chance to. And they almost won the World Series. They were 2 wins away. And this team got even better. And now having the resurgence of Trey Turner the second half of the season, and if he could continue that on the postseason, sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Red October. It's going to be crazy. Can't wait for it. It's going to be awesome. I can't stand Halloween, so this is going to be my whole highlight, pretty much, just the playoffs. But I can't wait. I don't have much else to say about baseball. It's this time of year. It's really hard for me to keep track of baseball just because of football. But I don't really have much else to say about baseball. If you want to continue.
All I really want to say is I'm just excited for baseball to get back in the playoffs because then I can have something else to watch. Say when the Eagles aren't playing, and just watching a playoff game is the experience of watching it and the way you watch it just completely changes because it matters so much more for these teams because it's do or die. They could lose one game and it could completely change the complex of the series. You saw it last year because the Phillies had that winning game 1 mentality. They did it every single series, even the World Series, which they didn't end up losing, which what happened happened. That's not last season. It's time to write a new story and go win a World Series this year. But getting that game 1 winning mentality once again this year could pay even more dividends. And who knows? Maybe the opposing team couldn't even win a game. With the opposing, it's we got that game 1 win in the opposing area, in the opposing team's home. But then when we came back to here, aka the jungle, the experience just changed, and we were just we look like the best team on the planet. It's crazy.
Yeah. So moving on, we'll be talking about week 3 in the NFL. So we'll be starting off talking about Dolphins Broncos. What a hell of a game that was. That's not even an NFL game. That's a college football game right there. I don't know what happened. The Broncos just gave up. And the Dolphins were going for a record. That's all I see happening. The Dolphins' running game was crazy. I don't know what happened there. Tyreek Hill still had a good game, but it was mostly their running game that really just went off. Chabey?
Yeah, I totally agree. This is the type of game where, when you see it, you're there's no way the score's like this. Where it's this looks like a college football game, like you said. But just the way they were able to assert dominance early, But the one factor not many people have been talking about is how scary this Dolphins team is. Like, yeah, they've been saying it's scary, but they played this game without Jalen Waddle. I don't know what that tells us, but that could mean so much. Like, because the Dolphins, when you think of them anymore, they don't seem as a run team. They're not like a run first team. But the ability to have Devin Ache, the undrafted rookie this year, have over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns is crazy. And then Raheem Mostert with 3, like Tua, he's my early MVP favorite. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, he was in the MVP run last year, but you have to remember why he got knocked out of that race. Just saying. Still early season. I don't want it to happen again, but who knows? I mean, I definitely don't want it to happen, but like you said, that Dolphins offense is electric. Their coach is crazy. He's the youngest coach. He's definitely one of the younger ones. But that playbook's crazy, and it's obviously paying off because they've been pretty much destroying any team they come up against. No defense can really stop that team. It's just, I don't know. I can't wait for them to. Honestly, though, I can't wait for like the Dolphins to play. They play the Eagles. I can't wait for that. So that's definitely going to be an interesting matchup if this offense keeps going the way it does against the Eagles defense.
I totally agree. I have that possibly being the game of the year, but we'll have to see what happens. But there's two facts I want to tell you about, and I want to get your reactions on both of them. First one is, I don't know if you knew this, there was this video that surfaced the internet after the game. It was Mike McDaniel getting interviewed because he used to be the Broncos' old ball boy. And also, there was a stat that came up. The Broncos right now, they currently have scored 69 points this season. They haven't even scored more than the Dolphins scored on them in one game. What are your thoughts on those two things?
Well, I did hear about what's his McDaniel's being the Broncos ball boy. Um, I don't really have much to say about that, but it's definitely interesting, especially because I was curious like to see like where he kind of like started his career, not like his how do I put this, kind of where he started like his football career, like how he got into the league necessarily. So it was cool to see like his first few steps in there. Um, I don't really know if he had like a grudge against the Broncos, but like he absolutely beat the hell out of them. So I'll leave that as a May. What wait and with the Broncos only scoring 69 points this season so far, that's just I can't even say I'm surprised. That Bronco team is like so sad. I kind of figured they would just be bad for a little bit just because how much money they gave Russell Wilson. I don't know what exactly they expected him to do. Like, there's a reason the Seahawks got rid of him, so I have no idea. But yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that shows that they won the trade all in all. But then moving on, so then the second game we're going to talk about is we're going to shift down, or let me think about it. We want to talk about the Cardinals and Cowboys game. What's your thoughts on that one?
That was honestly a surprise for me. I had the Cowboys winning. I have no idea what happened there. Dak Prescott, that offense looked so weird, and that defense just looked even weirder. I don't know what exactly happened there, but the Cardinals' offense kind of popped off. Like, their run game did really good. James Conner did really well. Josh Dobbs did really good too, and there was all the receivers. Just all in all, the Cardinals just did really good. I don't really know what exactly happened, but for me, I have Josh Dobbs getting Player of the Week. He looks so good during that game. And especially the Cowboys, as an Eagles fan, just like it hurts me to say, but the Cowboys do have a really good team. So I don't really have words for this. Um,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no words to describe what happened in that game. But you saying Josh Dobbs is the player of the week, I'm going to loop back to the game we just talked before. I have Devin Ache, just thought I would as the player of the week. But yeah, that game was just like I felt it was the definition of a trap game. The Cowboys went into that game. I thought they were gonna win easily, but then Josh Dobbs had a legacy game. That's all I gotta say. Like this man balled out when he needed to and made the right plays. He had no turnovers, while Dak had an interception towards the end of the game. But like the Cowboys weren't able to. They were able to move the ball effectively, but could not get in the end zone. They only had one touchdown against a Cardinals team that's that blew a 28-7 lead to the Giants, who they came back with all those touchdowns. I mean, I don't know. This does raise a lot of questions for me about the Cowboys, and they're definitely a good team, like still like a really good team, but this raises a lot of questions for me losing this game.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. I don't really know what's up with the Cardinals because I had them being like the worst team in the league. So, but it's like if you look at this game and the last two games against the Commanders and Giants, they've honestly looked very well. I mean, they lost their first two, but they looked very good during those games. Like they put up they put up a good amount of points. I mean against the Giants game, they looked really good in the first half, and then the Giants came back to life and stopped them. But it's like even in the second half, they looked really well. So I don't really know where to put the Cardinals. But I expect all of that to stop when Kyle Murray gets back. I have absolutely no faith in that man. I'm sure he ain't watching film on his break. That dude's playing way too much COD, and I know it.
I could definitely see that. But talking about being the worst team, I want to move on to the next game because I don't know if that's the case anymore. Because moving on to the next game, Bears and Chiefs, Justin Fields, bro, this man is trashed. Like trash. Like this man has not looked good whatsoever, and I am not buying any hype whatsoever. This man is not good.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, yeah, Justin Fields hasn't looked good, but it's like you also kind of have to look like the Bears had like the weirdest week. They had their defensive coordinator leave. Their offensive coordinator isn't doing good, at least according to Justin Fields. I don't know if he just doesn't want to take responsibility or not, but according to the Bears, the offensive coordinator's somewhat to blame. And then I know this doesn't really affect the game, but I know apparently like somebody broke into the Bears stadium and stole a bunch of stuff. I have no idea about that. I didn't really look into it. But yeah, I don't know what exactly happened to the Bears. The Chiefs looked really good though, but that's not surprising. Patrick Mahomes had a somewhat good game. Travis Kelce did really good, and I'm not going to bring up the reason why. Chiefs defense went off, but yeah.
There's not much to talk about in this game because, like I said, it was a blowout, and like everybody knew the Chiefs were gonna win this game coming in, but like just the way Justin Fields has looked is the main story to talk about this game. But like I said, not much to talk about. Chiefs just a dominating win, and like the point you alluded to, we don't need to know why Travis Kelce like played up to his standards again. We don't need to talk about that. So, uh, mm-hmm. So, moving on, our final two games we're going to talk about before we wrap up today's episode are the two Monday night games from last night because, in my opinion, I found those the most intriguing because, one, you had the Bengals get their first win, and then you finally had the Eagles have their most, like, dominant win and look the most up to par. Because the Eagles, they beat the Buccaneers last night 25-11, which there's an interesting stat about that game. They said that this came out after the game. They said this was the first time ever a game ended in that exact score, 25-11. So,
look at that, Eagles making history. Yeah, I kind of had that game being closer. I mean, I was horrified of Baker Mayfield. I mean, he looked good. He had one touchdown and one interception, so that kind of evens out. That ratio is still good, or it's all right, I guess. But I have no idea exactly what happened, but like looking at the Buccaneers, I kind of had them doing because I haven't really watched the Buccaneers at all. I kind of just looked at stats, but like actually watching the Buccaneers, I had them doing worse in the season, but like they actually looked very good. Like Mike Evans, like did well, I guess him and Baker Mayfield kind of had some connection issues in the beginning, but like towards the end, they were looking really good. Like Mike Evans had some really good catches. But looking at the Eagles side, I mean, the Eagles' run game was dominant as always. AJ Brown got some love again again tonight. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he had a good amount of yards, a good amount of receptions. Um, Jalen Hurts actually looked somewhat good. I guess there were some moments where it kind of looked like he forgot how to be a quarterback, which is annoying, but you're gonna have to deal with. It's still early season, so he's still got time.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much alluding to the last point you made. Jalen Hurts, I feel like when him and Brian Johnson are connected and Brian Johnson feels more comfortable with running the offense, this team is going to be on full cylinders, and it's no stop from there because there's some main points I have to talk about here. Yes, you already alluded to DeAndre Swift. What a game from him. He could be easily in the 1,000-yard rusher, even the NFL league leading, because just behind this offensive line, and if he stays healthy, there's no stopping him. And then AJ Brown, the game he had last night, like that shows that he's fine. And when we need him, he's always reliable and is there to help us. But the guy I need to talk about is Jalen Carter, bro. This man is a beast, aka Baby Rhino. That's what they call him because this dude is a wrecking ball. Like anytime he's on the field, he's making an impact. And the one play I need to talk about, as I've been talking about all day, him and Fletcher Cox combined for a sack, all good and well. But then literally the next play, Carter's pass rushing, and Mayfield dumps it off to Rashid White. Not only does Carter come off the pass rush, he chases down Rashid White, strip sack, or fumbles him, and the Eagles pick it up. This dude is a monster.
Yeah, I don't know. I was so excited. I couldn't, like, in the offseason, I couldn't wait to see our defensive line go to work with all our new guys. I mean, Nolan Smith got some time in there. I don't know if you noticed him, but he didn't do much, but he had his time in there. I know he brought down Baker Mayfield at one point. It wasn't a sack, though. Baker Mayfield just threw it away just in time before he got brought to the ground. But I can't wait to see that defensive line hit their peak.
Yeah, and then one more tiny point I want to bring up. I hope this continues still. Britton Covey, like this man, it's probably the best game in his Eagles career. I just thought I would bring that up. What's your thoughts on his performance before we move on to the final game of the day?
Yeah, I don't know. He looks good, I guess. He did. I don't know. What was it? Before we kind of moved on from the game, I wanted to talk about Blankenship on the Eagles. He looked really good for some reason. That one interception he had, he came out of absolutely nowhere. He read that play like a book. It was crazy.
For sure. I mean, just having him back made an impact. That's why playing that Thursday night game and resting those guys, because it just helped so much, because now they were able to come back Monday Night Football completely healthy. And can I make a bold prediction real quick? I think the Eagles right now should honestly either trade Quez Watkins or put him to fourth receiver, bro. I just like Zacchaeus in this offense way more. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I wouldn't be too upset with that, because he had two. How many receptions he had? I think he had So when I checked, when he got the one touchdown, when I checked after that touchdown, he only had two receptions, but both the receptions had a good amount of yards, and one of them was a touchdown. I haven't really looked at the stats after the game necessarily, but I wouldn't necessarily be too upset if he became the receiver 3.
For sure. But alright then. Moving on, we'll talk about the final game. Bengals and Rams, just the points I want to get to before I send it to you. The Bengals, their defense showed up, getting 7 sacks and 2 picks, and Joe Burrow played manageable football, and Jamar Chase finally got back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I mean, even watching that game, I had the Bengals winning, but it was I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams win. Because the Rams have been looking somewhat good, and the Bengals haven't. it's I guess it's because it's like Joe Burrow hasn't really been doing much, and nobody else can really do much. Because they obviously rely on offense. Like they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, and the best receiving core. So it's obvious they rely on their offense. So if like Joe Burrow shuts down, then the receiving core shuts down. There's not much you can really do, and it's like watching that game was like so weird. I didn't even watch half of it. I After the Eagles game, I watched a little bit of it, and then I went to bed because I didn't even want to watch it because it was just like Joe Burrow was didn't really do much in the beginning, and then like towards the end he heated up. Like he ended with 259 yards and only one reception, which is good, but he didn't throw any touchdowns, which kind of surprised me. I don't know what he's trying to do.
Hmm. I mean, at least the Bengals got on the win column, and I mean they have something to build off. So, but other than that, is there any other points you really want to talk about, or? Me as well. So, any other non of Bengals Rams points you want to cover, or? Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But that's good. And then I had the Saints blowing a 17-0 lead is crazy. But going back to the Packers point, that's such a good game for him. But I'm really looking forward to this Thursday's game. That's gonna be a. I think whoever wins that game is really gonna show us who's gonna win the division this year because the Vikings and Bears aren't going anywhere. It's gonna be between those two teams, and I'm not even surprised. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Any other points you really want to focus on or any talk about? All right, then. So that's going to wrap up today's episode. Make sure to tune in this upcoming Thursday. We will preview the week 4 and give it our picks. Also, by the way, before we end the show, we tallied up our picks for week 3, and our final records were Logan at 9-7 and me at 13-3. So I got a bounce back win, which is good. But other than that, that's gonna wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. All right then. See you guys.